What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I know I haven't really posted in a little bit, but I just wasn't really feeling the motivation to make a video. But now I want to, so yeah. This is going to be a music related video, but it's not going to be like an album review or anything of that nature. Today I just wanted to give you my top 10 nu metal / alternative metal albums. I've got my list right here. Now, nu metal is not anywhere close to my favorite metal subgenre, so you might be wondering, why am I doing this instead of something I listen to more now, like death metal or something like that? But it's mainly just because I know nu metal the best. I've been hearing it all through my life ever since I was like a little kid. My parents listen to it all the time. It's the most popular, radio-friendly metal genre, so I just know it the best. So I figured I could probably give my best top 10 albums for nu metal. So that's what we're gonna do. I've got the list right here. Let's just get into it. Number 10, I've got Home by Sevendust, released in 1999. Bangers on here. This is a great album. It's a pretty basic nu metal album. This is just standard nu metal, nothing crazy, which is why it's at my number 10 spot. But it still just has some essential nu metal bangers. The intro track, Home, is a great opener into the album. Going into Denial, which is Sevendust's biggest song, I'm pretty sure. That's a banger, Denial seem to have that song's pretty good, right? Then you also got other bangers on here like Waffle, Rumblefish, Licking Cream. You've got Bender with guest vocals from Chino Moreno off of Deftones. That's a fire song. Feel So is a deeper cut off of this thing that I like quite a bit. The vocalist for this band, Sevendust, I think his name is Lajar or something like that. One of the best vocalists in nu metal. His singing is just very good, and you don't really hear a lot of that in nu metal. Oh yeah, also on Licking Cream, the guest vocals from that female artist who's on it is amazing. It gives off the same vibes of Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. It's like that, but not nearly as overplayed. Yeah, just banger album, fire. Number 10. For my number 9 spot, I have Soulfly's debut self-titled album, released in 1998. I've actually already reviewed this album on my channel, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. This is one of the heaviest nu metal bands and albums that you can find, with just a bunch of bangers all throughout it. The intro track, Eye for an Eye, is probably my favorite off the album. Just super heavy, Eye for an Eye. I'm not gonna go too deep into it because, like I said, I've already reviewed this, but this thing has bangers, bro. Bleed with guest vocals from... what's his name? The lead vocalist from Limp Bizkit. I kind of hate Limp Bizkit, but the verse is alright on there, and yeah. You've got bangers like No Hope, No Fear, Tribe, The Song Remains Insane, Fire, Boomclot. There's just a bunch of bangers on here with a bunch of Brazilian cultural instrumentation that they use in here, which I think is pretty cool. For my number 8 spot, I have Science by Incubus, released in 1997, I think. And this album is one of the most interesting nu metal / alternative metal albums that you can find. Every single song is different. I mean, there's so many amazing fire songs on here. My personal favorite being Anti-Gravity Love Song, which I would consider more of an, alternative rock song, but I think is just so beautiful. Redefine, the opening track, is just a nu metal banger. One of my favorite songs from Incubus as well. Vitamin, Nebula, I think it's called. Just a bunch of bangers all throughout. And then you also have a bunch of weird tracks that are just kind of experimental, spacey, kind of atmospheric things, and they're very cool. I don't necessarily remember what they're called because I don't really listen to them unless I'm listening to the actual album. But actually, I think Nebula is one of the super weird ones. And also, there's another one I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's also very good. You know what? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Number 7, for my number 7 spot, I have Rage Against the Machine's debut, self-titled, released in 1992, I think. Now, I know a lot of people wouldn't consider this nu metal, that's why I said nu metal / alternative metal. I would say it's alternative. I would say it's alternative because it came before Korn's debut self-titled, which kind of started the whole nu metal genre, but it still has like the rapping and it still has the great riffs. I wanted to include it, you know. I think it's a great album. I think it's an amazing album, actually, very consistent. You've got so many amazing songs on here. You've got Bomb Track, banger. You've got Killing in the Name. You literally could not escape this fucking song on the radio, bro. Or at least I couldn't. I heard this song all the time whenever I was like a little kid. Bullets. You've got... I'm blanking, bruh. What are some other songs on here? Yeah, okay, trust me, there's bangers, though. There's bangers on here. I can't really think of any of the songs right now, but they've got amazing riffs, great rapping from the lead guy. I really just like this album. It's a great album. I would consider it their only amazing album. I don't really like any of their other albums from, like, start to finish, but yeah, this shit's fire. Number 6, I've got Wisconsin Death Trip from Static X, released in 1999, I think. This might be my favorite nu metal album ever. Not the best nu metal album. There's definitely better, but it's my favorite. The blend of, you know, nu metal with, like, kind of like EDM, like dance music is so cool. And it also has its fair share of atmospheric tracks all on here. Like STEM, one of my favorites. The Trance is the Motion. These tracks are so cool and add a lot of atmosphere to the album. I also forgot to mention there's a lot of industrial metal elements in here. But you just have so many bangers. Some essential nu metal songs include Push It, I'm With Stupid. Those are just some nu metal bangers. You've got Bled for Days, Love Dump, STEM, which I already talked about. And just a bunch of really cool, interesting songs on here that I like a lot. So that's my number 6 spot. I would say that's also their only... That's Static X's only album that I would consider amazing and that I actually think is, like, very good all the way through. Now, getting into my top 5, we have number 5, Korn, debut, self-titled. I mean, you have to have this in a top 10 list. This album literally started the nu metal genre, or subgenre, and there's so many iconic nu metal songs on here. Blind, the intro track, great opener, one of the most iconic nu metal songs ever. Ball Tongue, right after that, is a top 5 Korn song, and just one of their bangers, dude. Need To, right after that, is very underrated in my opinion. Clown is another nu metal banger, and Helmet in the Bush is also extremely underrated. I think that's the most underrated Korn song ever. It's about Jonathan Davis's meth addiction, and I just think it has it's so overlooked. It has one of the most interesting, it's just a very interesting song, and it's great. It has that creepy nu metal atmosphere. So good. And then Daddy, the closing track, is very traumatizing, especially for the first time that I heard it. But, yeah, very, very good. Oh, yeah, released in 1994. I don't know if I said that, but, yeah, very solid album right there. Number 4, I have Around the Fur, which this one I actually own. Around the Fur by Deftones. This is not the only Deftones album in this list, by the way. Deftones is my favorite nu metal band slash alternative metal band, so that's why. And this one just has so many bangers, you know, the intro track, Shove It, is just such an iconic nu metal slapper. Labia, Mascara, Around the Fur is another banger. Be Quiet and Drive is my favorite Deftones song of all time, or at least top 3. And then Lotion has some great rapping from Chino Moreno. Just overall, such an amazing album, dude. Very solid stuff coming from that. Number 3, now we're getting into my top 3. Also, I would have put Around the Fur higher, but I want to give some other albums the spotlight because I don't want to... I already have 2 Deftones albums in here, so... But I think very highly of that album, Around the Fur. Number 3, we've got Slipknot, the debut self-titled by Slipknot, released in 1999. This is probably the heaviest nu metal album you will find, up there with the Soulfly debut, which I was also on this list, you know. This album just blends the rapping with the metal the best out of any nu metal band. So heavy, the drumming, the riffing, everything on this. It's surprisingly technical for nu metal. This is probably the most technical nu metal band, up there with like Mudvayne. Just some very good stuff from this. The opening track, Sick, starts the album off with just a banger. Wait and Bleed is a pretty radio-friendly song, but I think is also a slapper. You've got Eyeless on here, which is another just super heavy, you know, super hard. Probably one of their best songs. And you just have so many bangers on here. Surfacing, Spit It Out, Scissors, what's the other one? Liberate, that's a super underrated track. Just very heavy, very amazing stuff coming from this album. Number 2, we have kind of a basic pick, but definitely deserves to be on this list. Toxicity by System of a Down. This is one of the best and most iconic and most important nu metal albums of all time. And I mean, there's no surprise from that. I mean, you have amazing consistency throughout the thing. What do I even really have to say about this thing, bro? There's just so many bangers on here. You've got Chop Suey, Aerials, and Toxicity, a trio of just some of the most important and big nu metal songs ever released. You've got other bangers like Prison Song, Forest, Psycho, okay, crazy, Psycho, cocaine, crazy. I'm so terrible with lyrics, bro. I know the vibe. I just know the vibe, okay? I never know the lyrics, but yeah, so many freaking bangers on this thing, as well as a lot of influence from their culture, which is... I don't necessarily remember, but it's like some tribal stuff, specifically on the song Science, with the type of tribal breakdown that happens in the middle of it, which is very cool. I think it's like Arabian. I think that might be their culture, but yeah, you've got a lot of that on here. Just some amazing stuff, okay? And that brings us to my number 1 nu metal slash alternative metal album. I would consider this one an alternative metal album rather than nu metal, even though there's definitely a bunch of nu metal songs in here. White Pony. White Pony is my number 1. This is a 10 out of 10. There's not a single miss on here. Alternative metal greatness throughout the entire thing. Back to School is an amazing nu metal intro going into Fiat Sierra. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you've got that super creepy nu metal atmosphere that Deftones brings. I think is very great. Digital Bath you have after that, which is just such a cool song about, like, I'm pretty sure it's about, like, killing somebody, but, like, it turns you on. Like, that's just such a cool freaking, subject for a song. I just think that's so cool. Such a beautiful track. That's another top 3 Deftones song right there. You've got, obviously, Change in the House of Flies. This is their biggest song, and another just beautiful song. This album is just full of emo bangers, dude. You've also got that one song with the lead singer of Tool, Maynard. I forget what it's called. Passenger. He has amazing guest vocals on that. Very solid track right there. You just have so many bangers on this thing, man. If there was an album from this, well, no. If there were 3 albums off of this thing that I would want you to check out, I would say White Pony. Check out White Pony. Amazing all the way through. Wisconsin Death Trip. Favorite nu metal album. And Science. Nobody talks about this album. It's such a good Incubus album. Such a good nu metal album. But yeah, White Pony is my number 1. Can't beat it. Can't do anything better. I guess I should give some honorable mentions that didn't make it into my list, because there's a lot of nu metal. There is a lot of nu metal, and there's definitely a lot that didn't make it into my list. You can see I've got no Linkin Park in here. I was really thinking about putting... what's their debut album called? Released in the 2000s. I actually can't think of it. Whatever. The debut Linkin Park album is amazing. I was thinking of putting that at 10, but I feel like Sevendust is just better. So just imagine Linkin Park debut album is my number 11 spot. Wow, what Hybrid Theory, that's the name. So Hybrid Theory would be my number 11 if this was a top 11 nu metal albums list. And then there's definitely a couple in here that I would want. There's a couple bands in here that I would want to have multiple albums from, but I wanted to have a nice spread out list, you know. I could have done Issues from Korn, that's another very solid one. Iowa from Slipknot as well, could have definitely made it into the list. So, there's a lot of good from nu metal. I feel like nu metal is overlooked for being, you know, very poser, you know, very popular. But I think there's a lot of great stuff in there that's definitely very overlooked. So, yeah, that's my list. Just to run it down one more time, we've got number 10, Home by Sevendust. Number 9, Soulfly by Soulfly. Number 8, Science by Incubus. Number 7, Rage Against the Machine by Rage Against the Machine. Number 6, Wisconsin Death Trip by Static X. Number 5, Korn by Korn. Number 4, Around the Fur by Deftones. Number 3, Slipknot by Slipknot. Number 2, Toxicity by System of a Down. And number 1, White Pony by Deftones. What did you think about my list? I thought it was pretty great. If anybody even makes it this far, dude, this is a pretty long video. Probably my longest video yet. But, whatever, dude. I wanted to make this. Pretty cool stuff. Sanguisugabog. Super, super great stuff. Yeah, blah, blah. Bye.